world awaits the selection of a new pope. Around 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. in Rome, black smoke was seen billowing out of the chimney on top of the Sistine Chapel, signaling a new pope had not been selected after the first vote. Now, that smoke appearing about 3 hours after the 133 cardinals went into the chapel and started deliberations.
All right, a live look right now from Rome, where it's 11 p.m. local time. The Cardinals have returned to their sequestered residences for the night. They remain cut off from the outside world. They resume their deliberations in the morning, and there's a lot to get to. Obviously, Fox 5 Sharon Crowley here right now. At this point, the world just continues to wait.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time, especially for Catholics all over the world. The black smoke appearing 3 hours after the start of the conclave today, longer than some had expected, in the next round of voting coming tomorrow morning. Now, if the Cardinals fail to get a 2/3 majority, another 2 ballots happen Thursday evening. The first day of the conclave beginning with a mass at St. Peter's Basilica and a sacred procession into the Sistine Chapel. 133 cardinals around the world walking into the historic building under the famous Michelangelo frescoes of the Last Judgment. Each cardinal taking an oath of secrecy. Next, following a sacred and centuries-old ritual, everyone involved in the voting for the next pope is asked in Latin to leave. Then those famous majestic doors close, shutting the cardinals off from the outside world.
Each of the cardinals writes on a slip of paper which says in Latin something along the lines, "I choose as pope." These votes are counted, and if there are enough, a new pope has been elected.
And as we told you, after about 3 hours, black smoke started to rise from the chimney above the Sistine Chapel. White smoke is what signals a new pope has been selected. The cardinals then return to the residences until tomorrow.
This is a time to reflect, maybe some small group conversations. They'll have meals together, right? And you know, most people who are bishops or priests or cardinals are sociable people, right? So they'll be wanting to talk with one another. But it'll be a time where the weight of today's decisions and the first vote probably weighs on people heavily.
Well, the mystery shrouding the election of the next pope, captivating people around the world and at the Vatican. The Vatican City press saying about 250,000 people gathered in St. Peter's Basilica, all watching to see that smoke rise.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It always is, no doubt about it.
Thank you, Sharon. Well, the Cardinals have spent many days getting to know one another ahead of the conclave.
All right, so now we wait for their decision to see whether they will pick someone in the mold of Pope Francis or go in a different direction. We're joined now by Father Brian Massingale, professor of theology at Fordham University. Thank you so much for joining us today. And obviously, as we mentioned, no white smoke today. That was expected. Can you walk us through what the voting process looks like tomorrow?
Okay, tomorrow they're going to continue their deliberations. They're going to have 2 different sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and each of those sessions there will be 2 ballots that will be cast. And what we're looking for is that magic number of 89 votes. A 2/3 majority is what's needed to select a new pope.
Are the Cardinals permitted to try and influence each other after the voting today?
Absolutely. That I think what's going to happen is that over meals or tonight after dinner or during breakfast tomorrow, during lunch breaks, of course, they're going to be talking with each other and continuing to deliberate in terms of what qualities are needed in church leadership at this moment. You have to remember that these cardinals come from all over the world. This is the most geographically diverse group of electors in Catholic history. And so they're going to have different priorities depending upon what the issues are in their countries. And so as they come to consensus, that's what they're looking for. How do they get to that magic 2/3 number?
You know, and is there an age range that's generally considered ideal for the next pope?
I think that what they're looking for, you'll hear people talk about the fact that they're looking for someone that can give the church both stability, but also not necessarily a lengthy pontificate. So you're looking at someone who can probably serve for Pope for the next 10 to 15 years. I think that's the kind of age range you're looking for, someone who can be healthy enough and strong enough to lead the church for the next decade or decade and a half.
Yeah, and Father, we're seeing some video right now, the Cardinals. They're wearing different robes. Why are they not all in the same uniform?
Most of the cardinals are dressed in red. That's the traditional dress for a cardinal. It's symbolizing their oath to protect the church by shedding blood if necessary. However, the Catholic Church is a global communion, and so some are wearing vestments that are more, or clothing that's more associated with the Eastern rites of the Church. So churches of the Middle East, for example, would have their own distinctive vesture, but they're all equally cardinals of the Catholic Church.
And we've all, read the articles about some of the potential front runners, but it turns out those people don't usually wind up winning the final voting, do they?
There's an old Italian saying that translates something like this: those who go into a conclave as a pope leave as a cardinal. And so while there are front runners, again, none of us are privy to and probably will never know the full story, what happens behind those closed doors. And that's to ensure that they can act, the cardinals can act with absolute freedom without any kind of hint of outside influence.
Makes sense. All right, Father Massingale, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you.